So for the last few months, my eye has really been drawn to mini boards, and I don't know what it is exactly that is so cool about them, but Ghostfire Audio could not have reached out at a better time because they wanted to send over a pedal board to talk about on the channel today. So as I was doing my research and just looking into their boards, the cost for these are actually really low. They're really great if you're looking for a potential budget build. So I figured today we could just take a look and build out a mini board for myself and just test it and see, is the quality also there as well? So as far as what you get with this pedal board, obviously you get this case, which is actually pretty nice. It's padded and feels relatively durable. Now let's see what's packed inside of here. It looks like we've got some Velcro, which is always nice. We're definitely going to need that. We've also got some zip ties and some little mounts for underneath the board, which is great. And then of course we have the board itself. So pretty nice. Definitely takes some inspiration from Pedal Train. Looks pretty similar, but it's not plastic. I think this is aluminum. Feels pretty sturdy. Now, I do think it's important to answer the question of why might you want a mini board? And there's a lot of different builds you could do with one of these. I'm a really big fan of the motto, constraints breed creativity. So I think for me, at least, there is something really cool about the idea of having so much constraint on a tiny board like this, where you really need to be intentional about what pedals you're picking to get the sounds that you need. But you might also want a small board like this for maybe a bass board or an acoustic board where you don't need so many effects. For today though, I want to build out this mini board to be an amp board for myself. So I'm gonna be moving my two Iridiums over as well as my Daiso Plus. And I'm not sure if I'll have enough space, but I really want to try to fit on the Slow Gear Electronics headphone amp as well. So we'll see if we can fit everything on there. So let's get started. All right, so we've got our board here. I want to go ahead and start with the Velcro and get the Velcro on here first. So we've got our Velcro on, it's looking pretty good. What I would love to try to figure out is if we can get some Velcro on the bottom and actually mount the power supply. Which, speaking of power supply, Ghostfire actually also sent over this power supply, which is actually small enough where it can fit underneath the board. So it's pretty tiny and it looks like I actually have just enough Velcro to fit underneath this. So let's see if we can get this attached to the bottom. By the way, I am actually really curious to see how this power supply does in action. It's only like $48 and it has 10 outputs and it's got some decent juice, being able to do 500 milliamps for a couple of these as well as 300 for a couple of these as well. So very interested to hear how this sounds with everything. All right, so we did it. We've got Velcro on the front. You can actually see right under here the power supply, which is mounted underneath. Has plenty of room to be able to sit, but I realized I have made a huge mistake. I'm realizing for the Iridiums and the Daiso Plus, I still have the temple plates on the back, and if you've never taken a temple plate off of a pedal before, I envy you.
2,000 years later.
All right, we're back. We have got Velcro on the back of our Iridiums and also the Daiso Plus here. We're all Velcroed, we're all good to go. While I was waiting for the Goo Gone to do its job to get the temple plates off of the back of these, I went ahead and did a little bit of maintenance underneath the board. So you can see I got some of the power plugged in here to the power supply and also added some of these little mounts under here just to run these cables as organized as I can. Also, I'm a little bummed. It's looking like I'm not gonna be able to fit the headphone amp. So maybe next time, maybe there will be a slightly bigger board in the future. But for now, this is just gonna have the two Iridiums and the Daiso Plus. So let's go ahead and stick everything on here and see how it looks. Here we are. That is looking pretty clean. I am happy with this. This is great. So basically the way that this is gonna play out is I'm gonna go out of the Big Sky on my main board. It's gonna go stereo into these two Iridiums here and then stereo into the Daiso Plus. And you can see right there, it'll just go XLR straight out of this board. But already super lightweight, really portable. It's gonna be great to fit this in the bag and take this with me to church. And by the way, I'm gonna go ahead and link the board and the power supply and everything down in the description. So now that we've got everything on here, I wanna go ahead and get the power cables plugged into the iridiums, and I'm also gonna get the 1/4" cables all set up and everything. And then from here, we'll go ahead and hook it up to the main board and hear how things sound. Here is how the board is looking. We've got everything powered. We've got everything wired up. You can see 1/4" cables. I'm just using some of the flat EBS cables to plug into the Daiso Plus. Like we saw earlier, the power supply is mounted right under here. We've got some zip ties keeping things pretty tight and organized down here. All right, so I've got everything plugged into my main board and it fits perfectly. It fits perfectly right off the side of my main board and everything is powered and it's looking good. So I do want to do a play test, especially with this power supply. With it being so cheap, I'm just curious how things will sound. So let's go ahead and just test out some tones and hear how things sound. By the way, I know there is a gaping hole on my pedal board now, but don't worry, there are plans to fill that very soon, so stay tuned. So it's sounding good. The thing that I think I'm most surprised by is actually how quiet the power supply was. I think given that it's only like $48, I was expecting this to maybe have some noise or maybe just not be grounded very well, but it was totally silent and sounded great. So between the board and the power supply, as well as the case and the other accessories and everything like that, all of this comes out to 87 bucks, which is really solid if you are in the market for a mini board like this. But in case you're looking for some ideas or inspiration for a full regular size pedal board, you can check out this link right up here where I actually walk through my full regular board. So feel free to check that out and I'll see you over there.